Hello, my friend, and welcome back to Toro's History Lullabies. Tonight, we will journey together into the soft twilight of history, floating back through the years until we arrive in 1921. Close your eyes if you wish, and picture the world over 100 years ago. The air is different, the pace of life a little slower, the sounds more mechanical, yet filled with wonder. The First World War has ended just a few years before, and across the globe, people are learning how to live in a changed world. There is relief in some places, tension in others, and always the gentle hum of everyday life carrying people forward. In this episode, we will drift through the events, inventions, fashions, and simple moments of 1921, not as dry history, but as if we were walking quietly down its streets, listening to its music, tasting its food, and watching its stories unfold. Let the images carry you slowly, like a lullaby, as we begin our soft stroll through the year. World events. The year 1921 opened with a sense of uncertainty and renewal. The war was over, but its shadows lingered. In Europe, nations were adjusting to new borders, new governments, and new responsibilities. In London, on a crisp morning in November, a solemn ceremony took place, the burial of the unknown warrior at Westminster Abbey. Across the world in Washington, D.C., leaders gathered for the Washington Naval Conference, a meeting that sought to limit the naval arms race and bring balance to international power. The world still remembered the cost of war, and treaties were whispers of hope. Meanwhile, in Ireland, the struggle for independence moved toward resolution. In December, the Anglo-Irish Treaty was signed, creating the Irish Free State, though with compromise and sorrow. For many Irish families, the year carried both relief and the ache of division. Elsewhere in China, a young political party was founded, the Communist Party of China, starting humbly with just a handful of delegates. In Persia, modern-day Iran, Reza Khan began his rise to power, setting the stage for transformations that would ripple across decades. Across the Atlantic, in the United States, a new president took office. Warren G. Harding, promising a return to normalcy, invited Americans to step away from the turbulence of war and upheaval. His presidency, filled with calm public language, gave the impression of a quiet pause after storm. Natural events also left their gentle but powerful marks. In Italy, Mount Vesuvius stirred once again, sending streams of ash into the sky, reminding people that nature's rhythms care little for human calendars. In Japan, recovery continued from the devastation of the 1920 earthquake, while preparations quietly unfolded for future resilience. And on a lighter note, 1921 hosted moments of gathering and joy. In Paris, art exhibitions dazzled visitors with the latest in post-war creativity. In Prague, the so-called Gymnastic Festival brought thousands together in celebration of unity and health. The world of 1921 was, in many ways, about balance, between past sorrow and future possibility, between recovery and invention, between tradition and the beginning of something entirely new. Daily life around the world. If you were to stroll through the streets of 1921, what would daily life look and feel like? In New York City, streetcars rattled along avenues, men tipped their hats, women in calf-length skirts hurried to work or to shop, and the smell of roasted chestnuts lingered from vendors' carts. Newspapers were thick, sold for just a few cents, and children might run home clutching penny candies in waxy paper bags. In London, fog rolled across the Thames and workers poured from factories in flat caps and heavy coats. Families gathered for tea, strong, dark, and served with bread and jam. Women's fashion had shifted after the war. Looser dresses, shorter hair, and cloche hats appeared, reflecting a gentle liberation of style. The flapper look was on the horizon, though still whispered more than shouted. In India, bazaars overflowed with spices, fabrics, and chatter. Families carried on with traditions that had stretched across centuries, even as the conversation of independence stirred softly in the background. Curry simmered, saris brightened the streets, and children played with small spinning tops. In Tokyo, life pulsed with modern energy. Electric streetlights glowed, bicycles whirred along narrow lanes, and department stores sold novelties like gramophones and pocket cameras. Families gathered around low tables for meals of rice, fish, and tea, while new Western fashions trickled into the wardrobes of younger city dwellers. In villages around the world, life was quieter. Farmers rose early, hitching horses or oxen to ploughs. Families read by kerosene lamp or perhaps by the warm glow of early electric bulbs if they were lucky. Radios were rare still, but the excitement for them was growing. Children everywhere played with simple toys. In America, tin wind-up cars clattered on floors. In Europe, dolls and marbles kept little hands busy. Board games like Tiddledywinks and Snakes and Ladders were household favorites. And in the shops. In 1921, you might find a man buying a fountain pen for daily use, a woman browsing for silk stockings, or a family saving up for a gramophone to bring music into their living room. A loaf of bread cost about 8 cents in the United States, and a gallon of milk was around 55 cents. Postage for a letter was just 2 cents. Everywhere there was a mix of tradition and novelty, of horse-drawn carts and early automobiles, of long-held customs and fresh fashions. Life in 1921 was at once familiar and distant, simple and yet filled with the quiet excitement of change. Science, inventions, and technology. 1921 was a year of curiosity and discovery. In medicine, insulin was first used successfully to treat diabetes, a breakthrough that brought new hope to patients who once had little chance of survival. The discovery spread like a soft ripple through the scientific world, inspiring gratitude. In homes, more people were acquiring electric appliances. Early vacuum cleaners, clunky yet miraculous, promised to ease housework. Typewriters clicked in offices and telephones buzzed with short, efficient conversations. On the streets, automobiles were becoming a common sight. In the United States, the Ford Model T continued its reign as the affordable car of the people. In Europe, stylish motorcars carried the wealthy through cobbled streets, while bicycles remained beloved companions for ordinary families. In aviation, daring pilots tested the limits of flight. The British airship R-38, though tragically lost in a test flight, showed the fascination of the era with air travel. Meanwhile, small aircraft buzzed above fields, hinting at the age of aviation to come. Elsewhere, scientists studied the atom, the Earth's crust, and the mysteries of the universe. Albert Einstein was already a figure of fascination, his theories reshaping how people thought about time and space. Technology. In 1921 was a quiet wonder. Each new invention was not just a machine, but a glimpse into the future, one that filled people with cautious excitement, like stepping into a world that was just beginning to unfold. Culture and the art. The arts of 1921 shimmered with both tradition and bold new ideas. In literature, readers turned the pages of new works by writers like Virginia Woolf, whose experimental style was reshaping the novel. In the United States, F. Scott Fitzgerald published stories that captured the spirit of a young, restless generation. The stage was alive with plays and operas. In New York, Broadway lights sparkled, drawing crowds eager for entertainment. In Vienna, classical concerts continued to enchant, while jazz rhythms spread steadily from America into Europe. Jazz, with its syncopated beats and improvisation, was perhaps the sound most closely tied to 1921. Clubs in Chicago and New Orleans pulsed with music deep into the night, and young people danced the foxtrot, the shimmy, and the charleston. In the visual arts, movements like Dada and Surrealism experimented with absurdity and dreamlike images. Meanwhile, in architecture, clean lines and modernist shapes were beginning to emerge alongside ornate traditional styles. Cinema was still silent, yet captivating. Stars like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton made audiences laugh with their physical comedy. In small theaters, people gathered to watch flickering black and white reels, gasping at newsreels and smiling at romance and adventure. And in sports, heroes were cheered. In the United States, Babe Ruth was building his legend in baseball, hitting home runs that thrilled the crowds. In Europe, football, soccer, was weaving its way deeper into everyday culture, with local matches drawing passionate fans. The arts of 1921 carried both delight and daring, inviting people to laugh, dream, and dance their way into a new era. Media and headlines. In 1921, the news traveled primarily on paper. Newspapers and magazines were the heartbeat of information. Morning and evening editions fluttered into homes, and headlines were read aloud over breakfast or shared at street corners. A newspaper in London might announce, "Irish Treaty signed, a new nation born." Across the Atlantic in New York, President Harding calls for naval limits. In Paris, art exhibition brings new visions to the city of light. Other headlines were lighter, more curious. New dance craze takes Chicago by storm, or novel device promises cleaner homes, the electric vacuum. Prices printed in advertisements caught the eye. A men's suit could be bought for around $15, a woman's cloche hat for $2, a pair of shoes cost around $5. A modest home in the United States averaged about $6,000. Posters on walls announced plays, concerts, or political speeches. Telegrams clicked through wires, sending urgent messages. The world of media was tactile and physical, ink on paper, words traveling by cable, gossip passed by word of mouth. Reading the news in 1921 was not just about staying informed. It was part of the rhythm of life, a moment of pause, a ritual woven into daily routines. People born died. This year, 1921 saw the arrival of many who would shape the century. Among those born were Nancy Reagan, future First Lady of the United States, Gene Roddenberry, who would one day create Star Trek, and John Glenn, astronaut and US Senator. Also born was Andrei Sakharov, physicist and human rights advocate, and Debbie Reynolds, the beloved actress and singer. Meanwhile, history said goodbye to figures like Emperor Charles I of Austria, the last ruler of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Enrico Caruso, the Italian tenor whose voice had enchanted the world. Their departures closed certain chapters even as new ones began. The circle of life in 1921 was, as always, quiet yet profound. Some names entering the stage of history, others leaving with grace. As 1921 drew to its close, the world exhaled softly. In many countries, there was still hardship, economic struggles, political disagreements, the lingering ache of war, but there was also an unmistakable sense of moving forward. Families looked to the future, making small plans, saving money for small comforts, dreaming of better years. In cities, electric lights glowed a little brighter each evening. In villages, families gathered by hearths telling stories, knitting, singing songs that had been passed down for generations. The stars above looked the same as they had for centuries, yet beneath them, humanity was slowly reshaping its own path. The year 1921 was a year of bridges. bridges between the old and the new, between sorrow and hope, between tradition and modernity. It was a year when people learned once more how to laugh, how to dance, how to marvel at small inventions and simple joys. As the calendar turned to 1922, no one knew exactly what awaited, but there was a quiet sense that the world, though fragile, was ready to step forward. And so, dear listener, our gentle journey through the world of 1921 comes to a close. I hope these images of bustling streets, new inventions, music in the night, and quiet hopes at year's end have carried you into a calmer, dreamlike place. May they follow you into your sleep, soft and soothing, like pages closing slowly on a well-loved book. If you enjoyed this bedtime journey, I invite you to gently like this video, to subscribe to Toro's History Lullabies, and to join me again next time as we drift into another year of the past. For now, may your rest be peaceful, your dreams sweet, and your night filled with quiet comfort. Good night, and sleep well.